What a week. First, we find out that council is about to enter into a 49-year secret deal where a private business consortium is having handed over to them prime downtown entertainment venues and properties so they can operate them without paying property taxes. What the hell is that? And then we find out that former MP and former Mayor Bob Bertina is running again for mayor, and wait till you find out why. And Judy Partridge, one of the old guard of council, has decided not to run again in Waterdown. Is the pressure finally getting to them? Are they finally realizing that Hamiltonians are pissed off? Margaret Skimba from the Hamilton Spectator, you're a columnist there, of course. Great to have you back on the program.
Thanks, Laura. Nice to see you.
You too. And Graham Crawford, not just the man of many memes, but also, of course, former Hamilton Citizen of the Year and co-founder of iElect. Wow, what a couple of hours for iElect. There's so much going on. So let me start with you, Graham. What was your reaction when you saw, let's start with the council news first, that another incumbent councillor, Judy Partridge, has decided not to run? I mean, where are we in terms of how many incumbents are even still going to be on the ballot in October?
Well, it's a very good point, Laura. So as of yesterday, 1/4 of council is not running again. Officially, that is, officially. So Chad Collins, of course, stepped down and moved on. Sam Marula, Brenda Johnson, and now Judy Partridge. There was mayoral news yesterday as well, Laura, as you are fully aware.
I can't wait to get to that, or can I? It's not news I was looking forward to. But let's go to you, Margaret. First on Judy.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Both her and Brenda Johnston used the excuse of term limits, that they believed in term limits and that they'd done their duty and served their community, and that was that. Which I thought, well, that's good. I really appreciate that. Because I myself believe in term limits. Mm-hmm. However, I would have liked to have heard that earlier in their career when they would have said, I'm only going to be here for this long. So, this is my plan, and I'm only, term limits up front. Whereas as an exit strategy at the end of a career. I also thought about the iElect campaign and Sewergate and the backlash against Sewergate. Short answer, I suppose, to that very long preface is that I thought, oh, it's working. It's working. That the pressure, I think, really brought about by Sewergate and the community-wide, the city-wide response to that breach of trust. And they need to come to terms with that and to step down rather than to lose.
Well, it is fair to say that if you were to ask any counselor in public, is iElect having any effect? The answer would be no. Of course, they would say no. It seems to me the reaction to our social media posts begs to differ. As recently as this week, one meme, one tweet about the secret deal in the entertainment district with Fred Eisenberger's photo on it has literally, and I can say this factually, tens of thousands of impressions on Twitter. That's one meme this week. Cumulatively, it's been significant. We have any number of people crediting iElect with opening up their eyes and helping them understand issues and thanking us for doing that. Do I think we're making a difference? Yes, I do. I wouldn't waste my time if I didn't think it was so. But of course, you can fail. You can hope that you'd have an impact, but in fact have none. I think it is having an impact. I think there is pressure. I think we are bringing awareness to issues. We're adding details and layers and nuances to issues. And counselors don't like that.
It is the community that is angry about Sewergate and the Red Hill scandal and the treatment of the LGBTQ at Pride and. as an example, somebody posted on the Sewergate show that we did here on the OShow, thanks for keeping me perennially pissed off about what's happening in Hamilton. Keep it up until the election. And I will. This is a not-for-profit venture. So if you want to support us trying to keep everybody aware of how they're being treated up until the election, then please like and subscribe. But we know for sure we now have former Mayor Bob Bertina in the race. We have Keenan Loomis, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, in the race. So Graham, what did you think about Bertina's raison d'etre for being mayor, his rationale for getting into the race?
Well, his rationale, of course, is the most absurd part of this. I think we all thought Bob's ego would force him to run. And Bob was my counselor in Ward 2 when he was a counselor. And obviously he was my mayor, our mayor, when he was mayor. I don't think he was particularly good at either of those. His petulance, his quick to anger, his my way is the best way always gets in the way of good thinking. Now Bob is saying, I think he's 71 now.
May I just say, what you're saying there are not personal opinions, though they have been widely reported on the record for years.
No, widely reported, widely experienced. Just talk to people who live in Ward 2. Bob was good on radio. He's a radio professional. I give him that. Yeah. But that's not what he's running for. He's running for mayor. And now he's basically saying, well, if a lot of younger people with new, fresh ideas get on council, I'm an old guy and I can help, marshal those brand new ideas and make them happen. It's like, well, Bob, how about if we just go direct? How about if we let those people just implement their own ideas and you stand back like an old guy like me, who just says, you know what, it's your turn. You people have a chance now. Show us the way. We'll support you. We'll comment. We'll criticize where we need to criticize. But, we don't need a bunch of 70-plus-year-old people. And I'm sorry if that sounds ageist, but it's coming from somebody who's just shy of 70. Enough is enough. Get out of the way. I keep saying it, and I mean it. Get out of the way, let people who have new ideas, give them a chance to show us. It's not as if the last 20 years have been so fabulous, we run the risk of breaking it all. Just look at the crap we're dealing with. They've had their chance, get out of the way.
There are all kinds of leaders, and I said this in the spec op-ed, who aren't tethered to the politics of the past, who aren't scandal-ridden, who aren't, having to be beholden to interests, etc., but are great leaders. Now, they may be younger, they may be the same age, but I'm just not for recycling these mayors or recycling leaders. Hello, it's coming out of COVID, Margaret. We have a tremendous amount of potential in this city. I am an optimist for Hamilton. We need leaders in the mayor's chair and around the council table who can implement their own youthful ideas and approaches, right?
Well, I think the challenge that these guys have in letting go is that they're part of the failure of what we are now, right? And they don't necessarily want to wear that. And so they're looking for an excuse to ride on somebody else's coattails or ideas to help them what's that word? Remake their image, right? As a relevant person in today's world now.
But do you deserve to be in public office if you're motivated by legacy or by rebuilding your rep or about old grudges or about your ego? Or should it be about a vision for the future for the city and rebuilding trust?
It should be about serving your community, right? With a vision. Now, my thing about Bob Bertina is I want to know who's helping him making these decisions. Is he sitting in his room by himself thinking, I'm just going to run for mayor? Obviously, he went out there and felt the pulse of the people somehow. Who are these people? And what is in it for them in getting him elected? And what do they hope to get by injecting him into the campaign? Because I really don't see him as a winner. Not after all that's happened, not if we're talking about trust in government, which is what we're talking about, right? When we harp on Sewergate and what we had to put up with was the way in which we were diminished as a community in our concerns, poo-pooed and patted on the head for years about our issues, only to be lied to and said that there was nothing wrong when there severely was, right? Now, would Bob Bertina have acted any differently than any of the old guard?
We don't know that. I don't want to I don't want to attribute behaviors to him that he hasn't done in a hypothetical, but let's look at the Red Hill. I mean, that road report, right? That friction report was from 2013. I think Bertina was mayor until 2014. What did he know? When did he know it? You know, when the Red Hill inquiry ever gets going publicly again, maybe before the election, maybe we'll find out. Who's going to rebuild trust? Who can we trust? I don't think a single incumbent should come to my door without answering, why did you cover up Sewergate? And what we're going to talk about in a moment, why the hell would you sign on to a 49-year secret deal that I can't even find out the terms of until I'm in the ground?
Well, Laura, unfortunately, it's another example of our council seemingly being more comfortable with secrecy than with openness. I understand you need to, negotiate deals in private, but once the details are established, and essentially once the contract is signed, you go public with it. And why would you keep it a secret? Especially when it's being spun as cryptically as it is by Mayor Eisenberger and some members of council, as full of benefits to the public, except I'm afraid we can't tell you what any of them are. They're so good, we have to keep them a secret. And not just until after the election, but until after you're all dead. I mean, that may sound like I'm joking. I'm not. It's 49 years. I won't be around. You know what? No member of council is likely to be alive by the time that contract is made public. Listen to that one more time. No member of council who approved that deal is likely to be alive 49 years from now when that contract is made public. That is a scandal. 3 of our major assets, and then another 3 that I don't know, did we give them to this entertainment group? Did we sell them? If we sold them, what's the revenue? Are we getting a revenue cut, a profit sharing on the 3 entertainment assets? We don't know any of these deals. We know nothing. What we do know is there will be no property taxes paid on the 3 entertainment venues. My question also is, that's bad enough. Like, why? I mean, just because the city owns them and didn't pay taxes before, well, therefore we never had the taxes in the first place, so it doesn't matter? If that's how you think, no wonder you never opened your own business. You're an idiot if that's your logic.
Well, as someone who has opened my own business 25
me
years
too.
ago, right? I was shocked by that, because the actual quote that I read in the Hamilton Spectator was that, well, we're just treating these venues like they're publicly owned. But this is a private consortium, and God bless them, they can make profits. Fine. But you should be paying property taxes. And if you're not, I need to know why not. I need to know what is so damn special about this deal, so ripe with benefits for Hamiltonians, that these private business people don't pay property taxes, and we don't get to find out for 49 years why. Margaret.
So the entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Families in Hamilton are dropping hundreds and hundreds of dollars into these venues. And the money's going out of the community if there's no taxes coming into the community.
I don't know how these deals are made. I don't know what the venues are getting. I don't know what the taxpayer is getting for it. All I know is it looks like we gave away the farm and we don't know why. And that's what bothers me, Graham. It's not that maybe this isn't the deal of a lifetime, but I'm not going to be able to find out in my lifetime unless someone gets elected mayor or gets on that council and demands that we find out the terms of this awesome deal.
Well, I mean, let's all agree that if this was the deal of a lifetime, they'd be falling all over themselves to tell us about it, how smart they were, and what share of profits we get. Let's be conservative and say that it's a $1.2 million in annual property taxes times 49 years, put inflation in there, and now we're probably talking close to $100 million in property taxes that we're not going to get. But the question is, then what's the offsetting benefit? And it better be more than people will come down and maybe go out for a dinner or buy a drink or pay for parking. They were already doing that. This isn't net new revenue. That's what was already happening. And if the answer is, well, they're going to do more of it, well, then fine. Why don't we get a cut of that? So if you want to give them property tax free status, then I want 10 points off the top of revenue, or maybe 6-7% of profit. But we're not, if we were getting it, they would tell us, Laura. They're refusing to tell us anything. And as I understand it, that's written into the contract that they cannot share these, and they agreed to it. Elected officials agreeing to keep it a secret. You know, it's kind of reminiscent of Sewergate, where they actually decided, well, this is a good idea. Lawyer says we should keep it secret, so we'll keep it secret. Private sector says we should keep it secret, so we'll keep it a secret. It's just appalling.
Let's just take a moment to watch the video that I took the time to put together so that people can see the properties we're talking about. We're not talking about just some parking lot somewhere that wasn't being used. We're talking about prized downtown venues in a major Canadian city, and we don't know what we get for handing these over. There's been reporting on this that it was a unanimous vote, but we don't know why. So where are you with all of this as someone who, lives and breathes and writes in the media?
So it comes back to the issue of trust, right? If there was a council that I trusted, then maybe, I don't know, but maybe I'd be easier with them going into camera, coming up with a deal that they tell me is going to be beneficial. But they have to keep it secret because of propriety, business interests, and how these things work in the world. Then maybe I might be a little bit more amenable to believing what they're saying, but I don't trust this council. And it's not that I don't trust this council. A lot of Hamiltonians don't trust this council. So for Fred to then turn around and say, don't worry, we've got it covered, we know what we're doing, is just actually quite laughable. Yet, especially given the fact that not only do we not trust this council, we have been, as a community, been very, very vocal about how we felt about this from the beginnings of Sewergate. So they know what kind of atmosphere that they're operating in vis-a-vis our trust. And yet they would continue to turn around and look at us and say, don't worry, we got you. We're going to take care of it and everything's going to be okay. When we know inside ourselves, when did that ever happen? Like the list is too long. So it's just a bit rich for Fred Eisenberger to turn to the people of Hamilton and say, trust us, we know what we're doing. But I certainly myself am suspicious of developer interests, money that gets promised, other promises that get made that we don't know about. So it just leaves me wondering, you got to be kidding. We can't trust you. A show of good faith, given all that you've gone through, is to be as open as you possibly can, especially if you're expecting to be reelected.
Right.
Because this is an election issue.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'll have more to say on that in coming days. Believe me, this next election is about trust. Let's make no mistake. It's not about some bloody train. But Graham, when the mayor came out and said, I just wanted to let people know there, nothing to see here, reminded me of that famous scene from Naked Gun where like there's a fireworks factory going off and Leslie Nielsen's like, nothing to see here, folks, move along. I mean, How can we possibly take that? And in PR, when you're out there saying there's no secret deal going on, nothing deep, dark, and secretive, you don't have to say that unless there's something that people feel is deep, dark, and secretive.
Well, either Fred's getting just terrible advice and is accepting it, or he's using his own advice and it's also terrible. To pretend there's nothing to see here when there's everything to see here clearly. We are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of assets here with a deal that was cooked up behind closed doors and is going to remain behind closed doors. As we all know, we have a housing affordability crisis in Hamilton. There is no reference whatsoever in this giant secret deal to affordable housing on our properties. Remember, there's 3 cultural assets. So, you know, the concert hall, the convention center, the arena, and there's 3 additional sites. And construction is going to happen on those sites. Are we putting any affordable housing units in those? Is there an offsetting benefit where they don't have to, but they pay as X, or they guarantee to fund, 100 deeply affordable housing units? And let me be clear here, because Jason Farr, Ward 2 councillor, Ward 3 resident, says, oh, there probably will be affordable housing units in one of the buildings as one of those properties, 5%, which will result in possibly 6 units. And he calculates affordability at 125% of the market rate. So it's not the market rate, it's 125% of market rate. It's not deeply affordable, so we have to shut this down. That is not housing affordability. It's not affordable housing. And they keep spinning this, and they're tricking us again, or trying to trick us. And we've got to call them on it. And the best way to call them on it, Laura, is to vote them out. It's the best way you can call these people out for their lies and their secrecy, is vote them out. October 24th, big day for this city.
Graham, bringing up there's 2 parts to this that we haven't unpacked yet, and I can talk to you guys all day, but this is how big this deal is. We need to give a little bit of time. One of them is what you just brought up, which is the affordable housing. And it's not a theoretical discussion. We might throw around percentages and numbers, but I heard from someone in Hamilton who, when they heard about this 49-year secret deal, where public assets are being given over to private enterprises without property tax, and they don't know why. And they said, I can't afford to live here, and I can't afford to move. And I am terrified to live in a city like this. That breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I don't know about you, Margaret, but I know Graham, I know myself, I know we could probably move if we wanted to. But there are people in this city who have no affordable housing prospects, and they're hearing about this massive deal, and they don't even know if they're being thought of by this council. Margaret, what is your thought just on not just the optics of how bad this deal is given Sewergate, but the fact that we're in a housing crisis, and we're talking about giving venues secretly with no details about affordable housing contingencies?
We've lost our way. We've lost our priorities when it comes to housing. I mean, it's not just housing. Okay, let's be clear, because we can put a person in a place and find a place for them. But if they don't have the wraparound supports that help them stay there, then they're just going to leave. And it's a huge, complex problem, and it needs lots of money. And it needs the money that the taxes that entertainment district can produce.
A question that was asked that was pretty set off a bit of a fire on social media the last couple of days. And I want to end on this because we were clear about what we felt about Bertina entering the race. And I think, we're probably on the same page about Fred. 3 terms is enough. I don't want to speak for both of you, but Keenan Loomis said he's going to run for mayor. I welcomed that announcement because it meant we had an alternative in the mix, not just recycling options here with our mayors. But he was posed a question by Matthew Green on Twitter saying, would you, as mayor, open up the terms of this 49-year deal? And his response was, I'm all for transparency at City Hall, but you seem to have made up your mind already, Matt, without knowing the terms, something to that effect, right? It was kind of a a platitude and a pivot.
Well, look, I was not unhappy when Keenan announced, because I do think at least the opportunity for a fresh thinking, a fresh start. I also think Keenan has done a pretty good job on helping with the LRT file. I know he has, both behind the scenes and in front as well. In some cases, more than many people know. However, having said that, I don't think it was a particularly good answer. I think that it's absolutely fair for Keenan to say, I don't know the details, but I'll tell you this, when I get elected, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that deal. And I'm a lawyer, and I'm going to look at it from a contractual perspective as to are there any clauses in there that would permit me to open it up? And if I'm locked out of that, I'll tell you that. And if I'm not locked out of opening it up, then I will absolutely look at opening it up. But at the moment, that's all I can say. But something like that. That isn't what he did. And one could say, well, I mean, I don't want to shoot him down because of one bad answer. On the other hand, it's a pretty big issue. And I just think he needs to be better prepared to respond.
In his conversation here on the OShow, everyone should check it out. It was I think a really good conversation. It
was very good.
And good commentary afterwards by Margaret and by Mary Lou. And everyone should watch it to understand Keenan a bit more. But, he has some space to say, that was when I was representing business particularly. Now it's a broader city. I'm all for transparency. But is he beholden to business sponsorship? I mean, is this why he gave us a platitude and a pivot instead of a more full-throated commitment to transparency? Margaret?
Or is he a lawyer?
Yeah.
First and foremost, a lawyer.
Right.
And then I would say, do we need a lawyer?
Graham, last thoughts on the week that was in Hamilton politics?
Well, I mean, one counselor won't be coming back by her own decision.
At least not as counselor. We don't know if she's going to run for mayor.
Well, although I thought that, Laura, and then I went back and I read her message carefully, and I also watched her video. And I have to be honest, I've concluded she's not running. I think that isn't her intention. She is not running for this council in any capacity. Any counselor who thinks there's 200 of us talking to each other every day on social media is out of their minds. They're not paying attention. They're not sweating the details. They're not looking at the trends and the tone and the comments. There is a groundswell here, and make no mistake about it. And I think some of them have seen it coming, and I think they're going to be, like I said earlier, Laura, at the top of the show. There may be even a few more who are going to step down rather than face this groundswell.
For every person who goes out there and puts themselves out on social media, okay, there's probably 50 people behind them that they talk to that think social media is not for them and they don't want to go on it, but who agree with what they're saying, right? So that the people on social media are just a microcosm of the larger community that is tied in to what's going on, right? I know my friends will never speak publicly on some issues, but get us around a table at lunchtime and everybody's got an opinion.
When people on council are so dismissive of social media, it's at their own peril. Graham, last word?
Well, I don't know how to top any of that other than to say, mark your calendars, folks, October 24th, cast your vote. Ask people, if you don't know who to vote for, ask people. If you want to find out who to vote for, certainly make use of the ielect.ca website, iElectHamilton.ca website, because we're going to be publishing candidate profiles for every candidate. There's a questionnaire that they'll be filling in. So it's a good resource. I realize there's months to go. In fact, the official campaign doesn't start until May 2nd.
And there's a provincial election June 2nd, where some candidates who are running for that might jump back in the council race. There's a lot of ground to cover. If you want to get the latest, support iElect, follow them on all their platforms and volunteer for them.
I have great faith that Hamiltonians will, in fact, pay attention, learn about candidates, pick new ones, and vote. Obviously, no guarantees, folks, but what we can guarantee, though, is if we let these people back in, we're going to get more of the same. And if you are even remotely unhappy with what we're getting now, then you owe it to yourself, to your city, to your kids. Get out there, vote, make the changes, and then stay on top of the new counselors.
very exciting times ahead for Hamilton because we have a chance to build a better Hamilton. Thank you so much for watching the OShow and being the voices that people trust on the issues they care about. You guys are awesome. I'll have you back a whole ton before October 24th. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe, Hamilton.